Hey everyone, it's Beth McCord, your Enneagram coach, and this is your Enneagram Coach, the podcast. And here at YEC, we desire to help you to understand the Enneagram so that it can bring real and lasting transformation to your lives and your relationships. But we're also committed to raising up the next generation of amazing Enneagram coaches. Now, each episode, what I'm trying to do and I'm enjoying doing is having a special guest come on, introducing you to them, but also then diving into the Enneagram and seeing how Enneagram coaching can transform lives, bring this astonishing clarity to our guest in the moment. So you get to kind of see behind the scenes of coaching, because at the end, I'm going to tell you a lot of like the thoughts I had as I was going through the coaching process and our conversation together. So if you find that you are really enjoying this podcast, please like, subscribe, and put a review so that others can find it as well. Now, for some of you out there, you're intrigued by what Enneagram coaching is. And if that's you, then becoming an Enneagram coach might be the next best step for you. I recommend that you get our free mini course at yourenneagramcoach.com/mini course to see what it's all about. But if you're also like, no, I'm not quite there, but I really want my own personal transformation, then getting your own personal certified Enneagram coach is the next best step for you. So we have lots of these amazing certified coaches. So go to myenneagramcoach.com to find your coach there. And with that, I love to dive into today's episode and introduce you guys to a very special guest, but she's also a friend and my own hairstylist, Taylor Nick. Taylor Nick's entire life has been a pursuit of the meaning of beauty. This began with a degree in fine art, led to cosmetology, and then bloomed into the journey to go beyond what is skin deep and discover all that contributes to what is true beauty inside someone's soul. Through the course of this journey, she has styled celebrities on the CMA red carpet here in Nashville during the Nashville Fashion Week. But her questions about nature and inner beauty have led her to pursue learning and gaining more certifications in the healing arts. She recently then opened up this amazing new space, this new co-working space in the Nashville area called the Healing Society, which is where she does my hair now, and it is gorgeous. This is a safe place for inner transformation. And what she's doing is she's bringing together other practitioners in the healing space that have lots of wide range of modalities and healing practices so that people can come and get true inner healing there. Well, Taylor lives in the Nashville area with her husband of 15 years and her two sweet little boys. Well, Taylor, it is so great to have you actually in my space now instead of me always being in your chair, which is actually I'll be there tomorrow, which I'm excited about. But thanks for joining me.
I am so honored to be here. I love getting to see you do your thing. You are just exceptional at teaching and speaking and communicating, and it's like a real treat to get to witness it, like up
Yeah.
close and
I
personal.
mean, it is kind of fun because I'm always witnessing your great work, right? And so, yeah, it's kind of fun, like, having us, change positions and, like, you get to sit in the chair,
Mhm,
so to speak.
mhm.
Well, thank you so much, one, for all the years of styling my hair and making me look better and good, but also just thank you for so much for just being a sweet friend as I discuss and process. I mean, you've really been there almost from the beginning of your Enneagram coach, and we've had wonderful conversations, diving deep into the meaning of life and beauty and the things that you've uncovered, which, weren't areas that I was diving into. So just thank you so much for just the delightful conversations that we've had. And actually watching you grow into so many new areas, especially creating this new space, the Healing Society. So tell us a little bit about this new space.
So the whole idea for this space, the whole impetus behind it was I learned about beauty that I really believe it's when someone's soul is made visible. It's not about piling on more hair color and more products and makeup, although that's fun for self-expression. But it's when we remove all of these masks that we wear, all of these coping strategies that we have in front of us, all these ways that people expect us to show up and actually lean back and relax into the authenticity of who we are, that those are the people that have this glow that is just magnetic and you're just drawn to it. And that's what beauty looks like to me.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I realized, okay, well, if it's not about piling on the beauty products, how are we going to start sloughing off all of these things that are hiding our true self? And I learned about all of these different modalities, the first of which being that started me on this whole healing journey was the Enneagram. And
That's
we
amazing.
have these archetypes that we think that we're this way, and really that's just a mask that we use to protect ourselves that we
Mhm.
developed along the way. At least that's how I understood it at the time. It made perfect sense to me. And so I realized the Enneagram is an amazing tool. And I started meeting all of these people in town. I was collecting this whole community of people that just had a desire to help people reconnect to their true self. And I was like, everyone is working from home on Zoom or in a home office, and we all should really be supporting each other. And so I was like, we need a place to do this. And there wasn't really a place organized specifically for the wellness field. There's spas, there's corporate co-working places, but I wanted something that felt nurturing and warm, where people could still maintain their independence, run their own practice, but we could all come together and support each other in community.
Yeah.
And so that's what the whole idea came from.
Yeah, and if you're not watching us on YouTube right now, you've gotta jump on our YouTube channel and see this space because you can kinda see, behind her that she has created this very gorgeous co-working environment. Because a lot of co-working environments, I mean, they're nice, they're great, but they're very corporate. They can sometimes feel very stale or just one note, and that's not you, right?
Which I'm sure we'll dive into when it comes to the Enneagram. Yeah, I wanted it to feel like you could just walk in and exhale and relax and curl up in a corner and read a book if you wanted, or
Mhm.
sit at the common table and have coffee with a friend. I didn't want it to feel sterile. I
Yeah,
wanted it to feel warm and inspiring.
yeah,
So this is
which
the lounge I'm sitting in now. This is the co-working lounge.
exactly, and that's for both. It's not just
Mhm.
for the clients that come in that really do need that kind of space to exhale, but it's also for those that are doing the healing practice, right? Like, for them to have a
100%.
space to, like, decompress and to heal and to feel refreshed. So and I loved that vision, and you would show me along the way what you were conceptualizing, and I honestly, there was part of me that's like, "Yeah, that's really cool pictures, your, like, vision, but, we'll see what this turns out." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this is even better than the pictures."
Oh,
And
thank you so much.
yeah, and it's just such an amazing space. Now where is it exactly kinda located in the Nashville area?
So we're in East Nashville, up in the tippy top part, up near Briley, right off of Briley Parkway and I-65. So it's accessible from every single part of town. It doesn't take more than 20 minutes to get here from any part of town, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And yeah, so if there are Enneagram coaches, you can come work with me. Like, I'm right here. Come meet me. That would be amazing. I have
Exactly,
all these
or
furnished offices ready.
counselors or,
Oh, all
um,
different kinds. Yeah.
massage therapist, you got even massage therapist tables
Yep,
there, I mean, it
I
is
do.
guys okay, so what is the website just so that they can hear that first before
Oh,
we
sure,
dive
yeah.
into
It's
Enneagram?
thehealingsociety.net, and all of the information is on there, pictures of the yoga studio, pictures of the kitchen and break room, and all the amenities, all the pricing, all that fun stuff is on there. And you can
Yeah.
even book a tour on there too and come hang out with me, and I'll show you all the pretty stuff.
Yay! Yeah. Okay, so let's dive into the Enneagram. Now,
Oh, I
I'd
would
love
love
for
to.
people I'd love to people for people to hear your story because
Mhm.
it is not okay, you're unique, and your story is unique, and yet it's not
Thank you
unique
for
in
saying so, that means a
yeah,
lot.
exactly. I'm setting you up. Um, but yet it's not unique in the sense
Mhm.
that you have been on quite a journey with the Enneagram and you were heading down kind of in one direction and you're still heading in that direction, but it kind of had a little like turn. And so tell us what that journey has been like and how it has unfolded and where you are now.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, so I first discovered it about 5 years ago. Well, 6 years ago now. A friend of mine who was a spiritual mentor, was saying, if you're wanting to dive into people's authentic self, you probably need to learn about the Enneagram."
You're right.
And so that was my introduction. Um, I got a few books on the subject. I listened to a few podcasts on the subject and really tried to sift out which archetype I related to. Um, and it was tricky. At first, I thought I was a 3. I loved the idea of 4s, but I was like, "Well, surely I couldn't be that cool." But then when I got to 7s, they talked about FOMO, they talked about, um, being perky all the time, they talked about planning and filling your life with fun things, and I was like, "Well, I relate to all of those things."
Yeah.
And so I typed myself as a 7,
Yeah.
and I participated in lots of Enneagram conversations. I read more Enneagram books, always honing in on the 7 and always doing the work of the 7, which was learning to sit in uncomfortable, painful situations. That was the
Yeah.
guidance that I received. As I started to sit in the pain, which was not a practice that I had, I definitely avoided it at all costs.
Mhm.
But I was like, I'm going to work on this. So I would feel the kind of emotions come up that wanted to be expressed. I would feel my throat tighten. And I would tell my husband, I think I need to go sit in the other room and just and feel this for a second. Like I was like really going to be intentional about not repressing these hard feelings.
Yep.
So I would go sit in the other room. I would have my journal. I would pull a blanket up and I would just let it overflow. And I would just cry. And I would say, I'm afraid of this. And what if I'm not good enough for this? And it only took about 2.5 minutes. And all of a sudden it was like the storm clouds cleared and I felt so much better.
Yeah.
And I realized after a while, oh, there's deep wells here.
Mhm.
I know what grief feels like. I know what loneliness feels like. I know what isolation feels like.
Mm.
And I'm actually not afraid to sit in the murkiness.
Mm.
And I went to a friend's birthday dinner about a year ago, and she introduced all of us. Everyone there was really familiar with the Enneagram. She goes, all 3 of you are 7s. You're going to have a great time together.
Yeah.
As I sat there listening to these other people talking, I started to observe, I don't feel like these people.
Huh.
I would rather sit back. I would rather observe. I wouldn't rather do this, but I found myself questioning where I fit in. Am I superior or inferior to what I feel like these
Mm.
other people are bringing to the table? What's my puzzle piece? How do I fit in? How am I going to prove that I'm unique enough to be at this table?
Mm.
Um, and I went home and I was like, well, if I don't feel like a 7. Definitely didn't feel like those people, but I definitely started getting really introspective and insecure about if I was going to be loved by these people.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds kind of like a 4. I huh. Let me take out some of my books and start rereading the 4 thing.
Yep.
Because I'd always told people I was kind of a weird 7. That I was like, "Well, yeah, I'm a 7, but I don't wanna spontaneously come to your party, and I'm introverted, I'd rather just sit by myself, and I'd rather journal and listen to sad music, and so I'm kind of a weird 7." And I started realizing maybe it's because I'm not a 7, but as a 4, I took a lot of pride in saying that I was a weird 7 and that I didn't quite fit the mold.
Right. I love that.
Um, yeah,
And
yeah,
those
so
that know the
that
Enneagram are probably, like, chuckling too, because it's like, it's so cute, right? It's just like,
ugh,
it's our it's our authentic self. Like, what I love, I guess the picture that I hear or see in my mind is these scales falling off one by one by one, and you able to see yourself more clearly in the so to speak mirror, right? Like, you are able to go, wait a second, these were all strategies. And a lot of people, they don't know this. So I'm going to bring this up. These are strategies that you learned growing up, right? Like the 7 like strategies and some of the other strategies. So your parents, right? Your dad is a 7
mhm,
and your mom is a 1, maybe 2. And so you really learned a lot of strategies to be very 7 like. And we also know that your tri-type is the archetype of a 479, which I remember when we were talking about that one day. you loved because I was like, "Well, they're kind of like this fairy, like, being,"
You
and you were
may I interject? You said, "Okay, don't be offended, but" and I
because
was like, "Okay,
some
now I'm listening."
yeah, and you were like, "I love that, that, like, just makes me so happy," and I was like, "Oh,
You're like,
phew."
"They're kind of like fairy children," and I was like, "Why would that be bad? That sounds amazing."
And so and that just kinda helped, capture so much of who you are. So 7 is a big part of you. It There are strategies within you that are 7 like, not only from being a child of a 7, but also 7 in your tri type. And so it makes sense why you first thought that you were a 7. And as you did more inner work and really sat in it, but then also, I think it's so amazing to sit with others that are of that type, so the 7 like you did, and going, "Wait a second. This we have totally different language, we have different, like, kinda strategies or the way we're feeling," and you were able to really understand some of the thoughts that were going on that were very four-ish, like, "Am I gonna fit? Do I belong?" "Am I above or below them?" So kind of the envy, like, "What do they have that I don't have? I'm longing for this." Um, but just being so honest and transparent with yourself, which really kinda goes against probably the family dynamics and that 7 part of your heart. Plus the 9's like, "Hey, I don't wanna sit in that pain either." So the 7 and 9 are both like, "I don't wanna go there." That was the strategy that you had, but what you did is you uncovered so much depth that the 4-ness really rose up and you were able to see it and embrace it. What was that experience like when you really embraced the true you?
Well, um, I do this, thing where I make, um, these concoctions. They're called, flower remedies.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And there's a doctor 100 years ago who discovered that there's certain wildflowers that resonate at the same frequencies of certain emotions. And
Mm,
so if
mhm,
you distill them into your water, you
mhm,
can actually help balance out emotional and mental imbalances. And it's
mm,
very, very subtle and it's very, very gentle. And so I started learning about those in this whole healing journey I've been on about a year ago. And I started, there was one flower in particular that I always put in my blend, which is described for people that feel like they always have to have, like, the happy mask on. Like, if
mm.
you see, like, the theater masks of, like, the happy face and the sad face, and it's
Yes,
like, "I'm happy,
right.
and even if there's turmoil happening inside, I'm not gonna inconvenience anyone with it because I don't wanna bum anyone out." One of the things that I heard my parents say growing up with that there's 2 types of people in the world, irkers and perkers, and who wants to be an irker? You wanna be a perker, and
Oh,
you want I mean, so hello.
yeah,
Um,
right.
but you wanna perk people up all of the time, you never wanna irk anyone. Everyone has their own, challenges they're dealing with, so be happy, be presentable, look good, and then you'll be the kind of person that everyone will love and accept, is
Yeah,
the underlying message. And so after I had been working with this flower remedy for 7 or 8 months, just in my water bottle on a regular basis, I would kind of forget that it was in there.
yeah.
That was when I went to this dinner, and it
Mm,
was like I had an M&M shell outside of me that I had been
mhm.
presenting to everyone all the time of like, "I'm a 7, I'm happy, I'm free-spirited,"
I'm
right?
perky, I'm not irky.
I'm I'm not irky. It felt like it cracked off. And it was
Yeah,
like, "I don't feel like entertaining you. I don't feel like making sure that you're having a good time. I don't feel like monitoring the energy in the room and making sure that everyone's feeling optimistic. I just don't
yeah,
feel like doing that anymore. It's exhausting."
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And that's what it felt like. And coming into the 4, it was like, "Oh."
Mm,
So all of these things that I thought made me really weird and kind of freaky, um, like really artsy, really moody. Um, that's actually just who I am. And if I lean into that and accept that,
mm,
it feels like a warm hug. It
mm.
feels like, oh, this, it's like a glove that's just made to fit you. Where the
Yeah,
7 felt like another mask.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I just want people that are listening to recognize this is a very natural, normal path for lots of people with the Enneagram because the Enneagram is a very complex system. And if you start to unpack all the layers, this totally makes sense. So, again, like I was saying, not only, were your parents, in their own loving way, trying to steer you in a direction they felt like was going to be helpful and good for you, then also, your tri-type of having 7 in there, but not only that, being more of a self-pres 4, which is the look-alike to 7. So it's like all of these things make sense why unpacking the 4 took some time. And I just feel like a lot of people we're in America, right? Or at least the most of us that are listening to this are in America, and it's like we have to learn it fast, quick, like fix everything fast, like what's the solution? And our inner work just isn't that. God will put us on whatever path we need to strip away of these strategies and these patterns. And it takes time and it can be painful yet hopeful, all wrapped up into one. And so I feel like it's been a really neat and um sobering and beautiful experience to watch you do your own inner work because it's just not easy for anyone, and yet it's beautiful and hopeful at the same time. Is that kinda what it's felt like for you?
Hmm. Yes, there is this paradox of sitting in the uncertainty, sitting in the unknown, befriending the void. It's almost like the idea of a seed being put into the soil, and it thinks that it's dark and scary, and it doesn't know what kinda creepy crawly things are gonna come out, but actually, it's like a warm womb, and
Yep.
that's where it can actually sprout its roots, and it can actually get comfortable, and it can actually get all of the nutrients and life from the soil. Like, we think that sitting in the dark is like doing
Mm.
the shadow work has
Yeah.
to be creepy crawly and scary, and that and honestly, that's what it felt like initially. It felt like if I allow myself to feel these hard feelings, I'm going into a dark room and I'm closing the door and I'm not gonna be able to find the handle again. I'm gonna be
Wow.
trapped in here, like the darkness is gonna swallow me.
Yeah.
Not to be dramatic.
No, but it's that I can
Exactly.
feel it myself, yeah, it's like,
Yeah. So
even as a
here
9, it's like, "Oh, yeah, I don't wanna go there," and
and
yet,
the
like you said, that's where the nutrients and the growth and the roots get, planted so you can sprout and grow. Man, I love that. That is so beautiful.
that is and the analogy of the room with the door, that's how my husband described it, and he's
Mm,
a 5, Enneagram 5 with a 4 wing, and so
mhm.
every time I would come to him and express these overwhelming feelings that I had, these things that I thought were too dark to share with another person because they would get me rejected. He was
Yeah.
like, "Welcome. I've lived here the whole time." And it was so affirming because as a 4, that is the deepest need is that I can show up in the
Mhm.
side of me that seems to be imperfect and broken
Yeah.
and still be accepted. Like that's the deepest desire of my heart. And so having the support of my husband to sit in the dark place and be like, yeah, this is where the life is. This is what it means to be human. This is reality. Like welcome to the juicy stuff. Um was um was I probably couldn't have done it, without having such a supportive partner that I
Yeah.
knew was kind of like a life raft. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Okay,
amazing.
so you are planted in the dark space.
Yep.
You are getting rooted, you're getting nourishment.
Mhm.
Tell us what the growth has been like, so sprouting and starting to blossom because really that's the healing society. Yeah, exactly. Like what's behind you.
Well, I mean, I've always thought of the stereotype of a 4 as being kind of like Edgar Allan Poe, or
Mhm.
there's this comedy, that came out, like, I don't know, 10 or 15 years ago where there's this moody, artsy brother, and he's, like,
Mm.
angry at someone, and the way he tells them that he's angry at them, he goes, "I made you a painting," and, like, expressing his emotions, and I like, that to me, that's what a 4 was just, like, Tim Burton-y, like, always there's, like, bats flying in the corners for some reason, but the 4 like, it's identifying the beauty in the dark place. That's part of the gift of the 4, that there's beauty in all aspects of being a human. Whether it's sparkly sunsets and unicorns or sitting in the dirt for a while.
Mm,
That there's beauty and magic in all aspects of the human experience. And
right.
so giving myself permission to lean into some of the more mysterious curiosities that I have, to paint all of the walls um dark smoky green and put tapestries everywhere and antiques and just things that I find beautiful.
Yeah.
Uh it has been so freeing. And honestly, it was that turning point that I started creating this space.
Mm,
Because I had the vision for it so clearly. And what I've come to learn about 4s from you is that the ideal vision that 4s have inside of them in their imagination for what the world could be like if when everything is harmonious, when everything is beautiful, and when everything is healed. um, I mean, I saw it crystal clearly. It was like a blueprint that I followed. And as I
yeah.
was creating this space, any decision I made, I just held up to that inner vision that I believe God gave me and used it. Well, that doesn't look like the blueprint. Moving on. Or,
Yeah.
yeah, 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 that's the thing. And when you identify the thing in physical reality that had only previously existed in your imagination, it just sings like your whole body resonates with, oh, this is the thing. This is the
Mhm.
feeling. And that's what I've learned about 4s, especially self preservation 4s, is they can look a little bit like 7s in terms of their interior design aesthetic
Mm,
as well, because if self-preservation types like to nest and like to create their safe space. Um, and so 4s like to collect and curate things that evoke a certain feeling inside of them of how they want to feel in their own personal sanctuary, which from the outside can look a lot like hoarding, which could be a 7 thing of just, I want it all, give it to me, which my house, my workspace, I mean, there's like trinkets and art and pictures and instruments and lamps and rugs and throw pillows. There's just, it's a very maximalist aesthetic.
yeah.
And so that was also something that I was like, oh, that could look like a 7.
Yeah.
But while where 7s are doing it because they don't wanna miss out on anything, perhaps, for 4s, it's because they're trying to create a feeling,
Yeah.
and certain objects and textures and aromas, like, all of the physical senses can help create and tap into certain feelings.
Yeah. Which,
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like you've done a masterful job because when
Yeah.
I go
Mhm.
to the Healing Society to get my hair done like I will tomorrow, it's a warm hug, and it feels like, I mean, like, just even when you enter the space, it feels like I'm just kinda, like, literally envisioning myself walking through the front door. It feel because like, you're walking in, like, it's a building, so there's other, offices and stuff in there, and so,
Mhm.
the walls are white out in the foyer, like, the main foyer area. But when I walk into your space, like you said, the smoky green walls feel like a warm embrace. It feels as if you are welcomed to take a big, deep breath and exhale. And the exhale is really like, it really is going to mimic whatever healing that needs to happen in that space. So like, for me, it's getting my hair cut. And people out there that are like make, let's say, I don't know who you get your hair done by, but like when you're washing my hair and massaging it, I really feel like, okay, this is a safe place to just allow myself to be cared for. And that's what I know that you are creating there. And not, I mean, of course, all types can do amazing things. But what I want to point out is how, as a 4, you have created a place for people to just to be them, and to sit in whatever the emotion is, whatever the highs or the lows are, that there is a welcome place for all of it. And I feel like that's what everyone needs and is secretly looking for, is a place just to come and be. So, does that kinda capture kinda what you're
Yes.
hoping?
It makes me wanna tear up. It's the whole idea because in my head, I'm creating this emotion because it's how I wanna feel. And then
Yeah.
I realize it's how it's like my gift. It's my gift that I want to give the world
Yeah.
is just bringing in more beauty. Like, we're
Mhm.
always rushing, we're always hustling, we're always puffing ourselves up, we're always having to strive, we're having to prove, and
Yeah.
I wanted it to feel peaceful and harmonious and, yeah, like a safe space where people could just let their guard down and show up and not
Yeah.
have to try like they have to do everywhere else in the world. It's
Mhm.
really my attempt of seeing this idealistic utopia internally as a 4 and being like, "Well, I'm gonna create a little slice of the world that I want to embody and the future that I believe we can all move closer to, and so I'm gonna actually bring that into the world right now."
Yeah. Um, okay, I had a thought in my mind right now because,
Mm.
a lot of people out there could, I'm not saying they are, but they could think, okay, Beth, you sat in her chair for years and she said she was a 7. Like, how did you not know or step in or say something?
'Cause I'm
Well,
very convincing.
I mean, yes, in a lot of ways. Now, there were a lot of times I was like, "Wow, there's a lot of 4 there," but then we
Mhm.
knew that your tri-type was with the 4, 7, and 9, and just like you said, you wanted to create a harmonious, safe place that anyone could come. That literally is a 9, like, right there. That phrase right
Mm,
there was very 9ish. So, again, I want people to recognize there is a lot of different parts. We use all 9 types to varying degrees. You just happen to have a lot of 4, a lot of 9, a lot of 7,
yep.
but so there were a lot of times that I saw the 4 pop up, and as a coach, I believe it is not my job. Now there are occasions I will, like, if I really feel someone is way off base, I will bring up a percolating question to see if they are open to exploring something different. But it is their journey to discover for themselves
Mm.
what's going on and why. So I would love to hear from your perspective. And for those that are out there that, let's say they mistype themselves for a long time, or maybe they are in that mistyping and they won't find it for another year that they're listening to this, because Jeff mistyped himself for 5 years.
Did he really? Oh, I
Oh,
didn't
yeah, he
know
thought he was
that.
an 8 for 5 years because I think he really wanted to be an 8, and then a counselor that he was working with, a brand new counselor, was very well versed in the Enneagram. He was when he finally met Jeff, and after, a couple visits, he was like, "I'm not sure if you're an 8." And so then they ventured into that so Jeff could discover it for himself. Um, but
That's the
his
thing.
his
That's what you
strategy
just
was
said.
the 8
Yeah.
because he's a counterphobic 6.
Counterphobic, right.
Yeah.
But what you
Now
just said was he had to discover it for himself.
exactly. So
I
I
think
would love to
because
hear.
I love studying, because I love
Yes.
reading, because I love people systems, personality typing, spiritual archetypes, I think I would have been too proud to second guess what I had declared
Mhm.
if it came from someone else. I would have been like, "Well, they clearly don't know me very well," or I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, I had to feel it because the Enneagram, these archetypes, it's just our language to describe something that we all sense on an energetic level.
Yeah.
Like, so, and that's why when I was sitting next to the sevens, I was like, this doesn't feel like me.
Yeah.
Reading the description of it sounded like me, but I
Right.
had to feel it inside my body. I had to
Right.
feel the misalignment of it. And so until I felt that, my brain was gonna be convinced
Right.
because
And
it had read all the things.
when you felt it,
Mhm.
correct me if I'm wrong, it seemed like you were clearly able to see the strategies of the 7 that you had put before you to convince yourself that's you, and that but by seeing and being with other 7s, you were able to see the disconnect that, wait, that we don't have the same strategies. I might appear to be a 7 on the outside because I can be very cheerful and fun and a lot of the external being and the fear of the emotions, because I mean, a lot of times, we'll talk about how fours aren't afraid of the emotions, but you were literally raised, don't sit in the irky, don't be the irky
Yep.
person.
Yep.
and and so there was a lot of fear to be the very thing that people don't want, right? And
Yeah.
here you're like coming to this awareness, like literally in your face, these two other sevens, that there's a disconnect. And I feel like that those aha moments wake us up on a whole different level than if someone were to say, "You're this," or "This is your type." The
Yep.
discovery process is so vital, and that can be really hard for Enneagram coaches because in some ways we want them to experience like what you're experiencing right now. I want you to experience way ahead of time. But here's a beautiful analogy of this process
Mhm.
that can be really hard for anyone that's helping someone to grow and to heal.
Mhm.
There was this guy who was watching this butterfly get out of its cocoon, and it was taking forever. It looked like this butterfly was struggling and having the hardest time, and so he thought, "You know what? I'm just gonna get some scissors and kind of, like, cut the cocoon a little
Mm.
bit to help this little butterfly get out faster." Well, the process of getting out of the cocoon, the struggle actually strengthened its wings. It actually enabled it to be the butterfly it needed to
Wow.
be. And
Mhm.
so what happened was by doing that, it actually hindered the butterfly and it could never be what it needed to be.
Mhm.
And so I feel like, as those that are sitting out there listening that are either coaches or pastors or mentors, even parents, sometimes sitting in the uncomfortable space of watching someone grow, but being there, being an encouragement, a safe place, that is so vital because we all need that assurance, that connection that you belong even as you are is so important. So, does that feel right that had I or someone else stepped in and said, "You're not a 7, you're a 4," would it
Mhm.
have deterred some of the growth that you think you did gain?
I think that is accurate. What I'm really honing in on in that illustration is the strength that is gained by fighting your way out.
Yeah.
Um, and that's what has to happen. It's what has to happen. Um, for you to be able to stand on your own 2 feet and own your type when you get there. Because
Mhm.
otherwise, you're just regurgitating someone else's story, which is what most of us are doing our whole lives. The
Right.
whole gift of the Enneagram is that you can own it and you can see your blind spots. And um, I don't know about you, but when someone else calls out my blind spots, I usually respond defensively and I don't
Right.
take it very well. So it's
Right.
one of those things where it's like, I want to discover my like, yes, that's what we have coaches for, and I appreciate the coaches in my life and the mentors in my life that very compassionately point me that direction.
Right.
Um, but it's something that you have to see for yourself if you're ever going to heal from it and
Yeah.
do anything about it and grow.
Yeah, but they let you do the work, the process,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
they
They
the
just hold space for it.
right.
They say, "I'm gonna sit here and you know that you're safe and that you're not gonna dissolve into a pile of mush because I'm here and I'm cheering you on."
Right.
But you're the one doing the mushy caterpillar growing wings and
Right.
climbing out of the cocoon.
Yeah, and most of us think that we want someone to come in and, like, help, like,
Do it
this
for
is
me.
yeah, "This is hard, I don't wanna do this," or "This is scary," and I think hopefully that those that are listening, if you're in that space of struggle or learning and growing and it feels hard, like, yeah, it is hard, but definitely find people around you that can assure you, that can hold the space for you, that can cheer you on, that can give you the safety net to grow in this hard world. And ultimately, God is the one that's going to give us the strength and the path to walk down and to really have the perseverance to build the character that he is um, laying out before us. And then when we do that path, and that's what's so incredible about watching your trajectory, because I've been with you now, and this is the third space that you've done my hair in.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
the other 2 spaces were just, like a hair studio and that you rented a space
Mhm.
from, and it was all fine, but it wasn't you. And now I get
Mhm.
to experience the fullness of who you are, and not just the fullness of who you are, but the ripple effect that you knowing you has now on other people's lives,
Mhm.
that you have created this welcoming, nurturing environment for people to come and heal themselves. And so I feel like,
Mhm.
it's important that people recognize that the journey of growth is so hard, but it is so good. And so if we can learn to gain a greater capacity to sit in the uncomfortable spaces that typically our strategies try to get us out of, that we'll actually find more of our true self and will grow in ways that we never thought possible. And it's
Mhm.
truly, truly beautiful. And that's just really what I'm seeing from you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah, well, no, thank you, and I can't wait for tomorrow because I know we're gonna unpack more, and people are probably sitting there going, "No, we wanna listen." Well, sorry. Just
And
for
I'm like,
our
"Should we
ears
record
only.
all of our haircuts?"
Yeah,
Because we
exactly.
always have the most fun conversations.
They are
Well,
really fun.
and but speaking of haircuts, it is I had this idea years ago when I was listening to a teacher, do a talk about on baptism.
Hmm,
And he said, "Baptism is just having a dirty slate and washing it clean." And who
mm,
doesn't want that? Who doesn't wanna be able to come in and say, "All of this stuff that I'm ashamed of, all of this stuff that I've previously done before, yes, that was me then, but it's not me now, and I'm gonna
mm,
go forward in a fresh way." And I was like, that's what a haircut is.
mm,
That's what I'm doing. All of this stuff that grew out, your hair grows 6 inches in a year. So whatever's down here, this is 3 years ago, Taylor. It's still I'm just carrying around literally the weight on my shoulders.
yeah,
And just I mean, I think that's why you see so many people do a big haircut after they get married, after they have
mhm,
kids, after they go through a major life transition. A move is because something doesn't feel I'm carrying around parts of me that are
mm.
old and I want a clean slate.
Yeah, and
And
you feel
yeah.
different after a haircut, right? Like, there
Mhm,
is a sense of renewal or newness or
mhm,
freshness.
mhm,
Yeah, that's
mhm,
so true. And I get
mhm.
that tomorrow.
And you get
Uh,
smart.
yeah.
And when it comes to the Enneagram, that's what the Enneagram did for me too. It was like,
Mm,
yes, you can be envious. Yes, you can be awkward around other people because you're always worrying about if they like you. Yes, you're afraid that you're not at the stage that you want to be in life, but that doesn't diminish who you are right now. So you can let all of that go. And every day when you come back to your authentic self and the gifts of the type, which mine, the four, is bringing beauty in, seeing the authenticity in others, helping bring out the harmony that I wanna have in the world, um, that I can it gives a path to what that clean slate can look like for the inner work.
yeah.
That's what the Enneagram does.
Well, Taylor, thank you so much. I mean, this is so fun to get to do this in a totally new and different way than we're used to. But more than that, I just want to say thank you for doing the hard work and sitting in the hard spaces, because the growth that you've had over the years that I've gotten to know you has really been inspiring and welcoming. And now just your new space, the Healing Society, I can see the culmination of all of that work and how it then has a ripple effect into the lives of others. So with that, can you tell people where they can again find you, find the Healing Society, and get plugged in and enjoying this new space, whether they are a person who is of the healing practice of some modality, or they're like,
Mhm.
I want to know who's, actually in the Healing Society and get some help.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are in Nashville, Tennessee. We're located on the east side. We have 10 private offices in here that I've completely furnished in the same style you see behind me that are set up for different types of work. So there's coaching, therapy style rooms, there's rooms with body work tables and consultation chairs. There's a yoga room. There's this lounge that seats 22 people. So if people want to do workshops or events, or
Mm,
focus groups, they can use this space. Or if they just want to co work and they want to get, be in an inspiring environment with like-minded people out of their house. If they're used to working from home, then they can just come participate in the community as well, even if they don't necessarily want to offer their services here. In terms of services that are here, yeah, massage therapists, acupuncturists,
Mm.
counselors, herbalists. Uh, what I say is, if your work helps others find well-being,
This is it.
physically, mentally, emotionally, or spiritually, then you're welcome here. You belong here. This is exactly the community that I want to build, so we can all support each other, because the rising tide raises all ships.
Yeah. And it's thehealingsociety.net.
Yep, thehealingsociety.net, and on Instagram, it's thehealingsociety__. Two underscores at the end.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here. And I just hope that people feel very encouraged that the journey they are on is the journey they need to be on, and that it is
Yeah.
beautiful and it is growth each and every day that they take the next step. So
Mhm.
thank you for sharing
Mhm.
us with us your journey.
Thank you, Beth. I can't wait to see you tomorrow. This is
Yeah.
my favorite. I could just
Me too.
continue this conversation, and I'm sure we will.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We'll just keep unpacking it. So,
We'll just keep unpacking it more.
yeah. Okay. Thanks so much.
Thank you. See you later. Bye. See you tomorrow.
For those of you guys that are listening, I trust that this experience has had a profound impact on you, like it has me, just watching her grow and learn and transform. Well, if that's you and you are like, hey, I would love to be with other people as they grow and transform, to give them the clarity and the insights from the Enneagram, well, then becoming an Enneagram coach might be the next best step for you. And if that's you, get our free mini course to see what it's all about. And that's at yourenneagramcoach.com/mini course. But for those of you that are like, hey, I would love for someone to guide me in my own personal journey of uncovering my type or what's going on, what are my strategies, then get your certified coach at myenneagramcoach.com. And thank you guys so much for joining me today. And come with me on this journey with the next person next week as we unpack their story and maybe do a little bit of coaching. For me, with this coaching time, I really wanted to explore her own journey, thinking she was one type and then diverting into a whole new direction and unpacking that without shame or guilt or thinking that there's something wrong with her, but that this is a new understanding, a deeper understanding of herself. And so I wanted to highlight certain things that helped her to see why she mistyped. Again, her dad being a seven in her tri type, but it also being a strategy. The aha moment that her family, their strategy was, you need to look perky and not irky. People don't need more sadness or negativity in their life. They want positivity. Well, that's definitely a seven's natural way of being, right? And she didn't want to be that. So she learned strategies to be a seven and thinking that that's who she is. But as she was able to sit with other sevens, she was able to see a stark difference between her motivations and theirs, her way of thinking and theirs. And so I wanted to guide her in that path of aha, to really see that that was a good journey for her to be on, and that her journey was not a bad journey, that God had her unfolding her story in a very unique and subtle way. And so I hope for you guys that you will take the time, the patience, and give yourselves the grace and the space to unfold your own story. And that however your story unfolds is good and right. And sometimes you're going to need a counselor or a coach or a mentor, someone that can walk with you, hold the space, and to encourage you, to reassure you that your path of growth is important. And as always, remember that the Enneagram reveals your need for Jesus, not your need to work harder, because it is the gospel that transforms us. Thanks again for joining me on today's episode. Share this with those that you know would enjoy this kind of transformative work, and I'll see you next time.